same category, that today we're talking about the festivals in Islam. Because every festival brings its own set of foods, its set of dishes, and different kind of cuisines that we sit together and we eat and enjoy together. So if you ask me that what are those festivals in Quran, so Islam actually gives us 3 festivals as a reward. One is Eid al-Fitr and one is Eid al-Adha. So these are 2 main festivals. However, the Eid al-Fitr basically comes with, prior to the Eid al-Fitr, we have Ramadan. And Ramadan also, where it has its spiritual touch, where it provides the connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where it gives us a chance to basically come and identify our own weaknesses and try to improve them, where it also gives us the opportunity to look upon those who are less privileged, who are poor, who cannot actually eat. And this is where, this festival is not just by celebration, it's not just by actually enjoying it, it's also about thinking about others. It is also about thinking about the less privileged people. So, but whatever that we actually, say to this month of Ramadan also basically brings us the set of food which we usually eat. But before we move on to this topic, I would like to welcome Osama again in our studios. Welcome, Osama, to our studios.
Thank you for having me again.
Thank you so much, because last time, to be very honest, it was liked by many. I got some personal, feedbacks, and they enjoyed thoroughly this show and the kind of feedback that you gave it to them.
Great.
So I hope that we can be up to the expectations of our viewers.
Inshallah, we will.
Inshallah, we're going to try, right?
100%.
Lovely. So before we do that, let's start with Ramadan. Although it's not Ramadan, most of my viewers will be thinking that we just had Ramadan and now we're again talking about, so we are here specifically focusing on the foods and the festivals that we do. So that's why Ramadan comes first. And so we have to talk about Ramadan. Ramadan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about Ramadan. And he says, شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن. One of the most effective things that happened during the time of Ramadan was the revelation of Kitab Allah from His divine treasures. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed us with the book that came as an SOP, as a standing operating procedure for a human body, this machine that we carry for a number of years. So we have to operate that machine. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala specifies the شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن. So one of the credentials that Ramadan brings in is the book of Allah from His divine treasures. So, but in the other hand, it says, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ. It also says that, oh, who you believe, I have made mandatory for you to fast. So it says, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ لَأَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also says that I just don't want you to be staying hungry or staying thirsty. But the crux of the practice of siyam and fasting is to build the consciousness of Allah. لَأَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. No matter what kind of worship you're doing, you're making yourself punctual for 5 times salawat, you're making the recitation of Quran, you're doing sadaqat, you're doing whatever. But eventually the crux and the end result should come as the consciousness of Allah. So لَأَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. So that is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But this, after completion of these 30 days or 29 days, the Ramadan actually has 2 aspects, the suhoor and the iftar. So these 2 things have the time where usually the Muslims will eat. So obviously the suhoor will involve some foods, and so is the iftar will involve some foods.
Exactly.
And this is where we're going to ask Osama that what is that kind of a balance that we have, because we're going to stay away from eating and drinking. What are those 2 things that we do in the time of suhoor? What are special dishes in the Islamic world that we eat and drink? And what are those Islamic dishes that we eat at the time of iftar? There's no there's a recommendation. For example, date is recommended by the Prophet ﷺ. But obviously, it is not that you just stick to the date. As long you're sticking, كُلُوا وَاشْرَبُوا مِنْ رِزْقِ اللَّهِ حَلَالًا طَيِّبًا. If it is halal, it is tayyib again and again. Quran says this, that the food has to be halal and tayyib both, in both meanings. So we have to take as it is, And once we talk about these festivals, once we talk about this month, definitely there's a lot more in the month of Ramadan, which is being celebrated in the Middle Eastern countries, in the actually Muslim world. And obviously, I would say that the people, who make these preparations and who do that, it definitely, they do a commendable job. Because other than pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have to have, something in front of us, that we are doing it for our families, our friends, and our loved ones. So coming here, Osama, I would like to basically, start with, let's say, Ramadan. Before we move to Eid al-Fitr and we move to Eid al-Adha, let's talk about the two timings where we can eat from. We have to stop eating at the time of suhoor, and we have to prolong it until the sun sets, and we make an iftar. These are two timings which are, we are not supposed to be eating anything. Other than that, in entire Ramadan, we can eat anything that we want. However, what is the Middle Eastern choices and those foods that people make in suhoor, which in subcontinent they call it sahari, which is sahari means our breakfast time in Ramadan. So suhoor, which is the Arabic translation. So what do you tell us about the suhoor time?
So let me quote from your words that Allah has commanded us for Ramadan. It's for two reasons. One of the most important reason, to feel the poor people and understand what's happening with them during the let's say the entire course of our life, and secondly, the maintenance of our body. That's so important. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us a number of hours to fast, to drain all the viruses, making our system reorganize, understanding. So alhamdulillah, as a Muslim countries, we have a couple of things to be addressed, as you said, iftar and suhoor. And let's say in iftar, Muslims all the time would consider a cold appetizer and hot appetizers. They offer salah, they break salah, and after salat al-isha and after tarawih, they have the main course and they eat. And let's go back and say the hot appetizers. We have hummus, we have mutabba.
You mean at the time of iftar? Yeah. When we break or fast, usually they say break it with
with dates and water or laban. Or yogurt, whatever they want to say. And once we break it and we start eating from the hot appetizer like soup, lentil soup, vegetable soup, whatever people is would love to eat this or eat it. So and also the way when you talk about cold appetizer like hummus, like in tabbouleh, like in fattoush, like in mutabbal, like baba ghanouj. So this is a small dishes will allow Muslims to be able to eat.
So let's come to hummus. Hummus is what? It's some kind of chickpeas then?
Chickpeas, yes, exactly.
So how do they cook chickpeas? Because it's like a paste, right? Hummus is like a paste.
Actually, it's been soaked for 24 hours.
Chickpeas?
Being soaked in 24 hours, then you drain the water, then you keep it, you grind it, and you just keep tahini and give some garlic and some spices, and that gives you the actual.
And olive oil, you add it?
Actually, when you serve it.
When you serve it, you add olive oil to that.
And also we put some ice cubes on this.
So this is something, when we say hummus, actual pronunciation of hummus, like which is pronounced, but you know that in the English-speaking countries, they will usually say hummus. So hummus is a white, paste, like a white paste that we all consume with different foods. It's not the main course. However, it can be a good, starter. It could be, something that you start with. The dips. It's a beautiful thing to dip in and eat. So hummus is made of chickpeas, and then they make it kind of paste. And later on, before served, it is served with the olive oil. Some of the best virgin olive oil. This is here my recommendation. Wherever you consume olive oil, the best thing. However, take olive oil which is virgin, which is cold pressed, and always make sure that this olive has the trademark that it is being imported from the countries which really sell you the olive oil. And olive oil should be actually consumed raw. When you cook olive oil, it loses its all potentials. And rather sometimes the concentration in the oil becomes negative for the human body. So it is important that consume olive oil the way it is. And it has so many good benefits. Like Osama just told us that, if we add it with the hummus, that means we are talking about chickpeas creating in a way they become the paste with certain specific spices
Exactly.
added with the olive oil and served fresh.
Exactly.
What was the next one, Osama? Come.
We have tabbouleh.
Tabbouleh. Okay,
Tabbouleh.
that's no. Before no, there's another thing before we move to the salad thing.
Okay. You want to talk about hummus? We have also baba ganoush.
Baba ganoush.
Well,
Baba ganoush is
And baba ganoush and mutabbal, it is the same, but the different names that has been given by different countries. Okay, like example in Levant, they call it they call it baba ganoush. I'm sorry. In Egypt, called baba ganoush. In Levant, they call mutabbal.
all right.
So it's the same things. It's eggplant being cooked in a low flame, and they mix with the garlic and mixed again with the olive oil and just being consumed.
Wow, that's amazing. So similar to hummus, which is itself is a chickpeas dish, there's another dip kind of a thing that we eat, and that's called baba ganoush, or we call it mutabbal. More or less, they do different names for the same dish because it is made with the eggplant and created in a certain way. This is one of the most delicious things when you eat. Obviously, this is also something as a starter. These two dishes that we just named it. They are not the main courses, and you enjoy it. Although sometimes you end up eating because you find the taste then and there. Sometimes you cannot wait, and until the main course arrives, you really basically fill in your stomach by eating it with different dips, and you actually feel so much filled at that. Sometimes the main course, when it comes, you're already done. So that's what I'm saying, that like we just came to know two major dishes: hummus with the chickpeas, which is the chickpeas itself made in a different way, because in our countries like subcontinental country, chickpeas is used in a very different way. I've not seen, at least myself, that making some kind of a dip with the chickpeas. So chickpeas in Arab world, in Islamic world, in Middle Eastern world is a dish. And then we say mutabbal or baba ganoush. Both are the same, the two names of the same dish, and that is made with the eggplant. Wallahi, those are pretty good and very delicious.
Exactly.
We're going to try this too. Huh? Be ready for this, before we come, we bring you all these dishes to you, and we share these two dishes to you. Okay, what else is a starter? You said that, these two, and you're talking about the iftar. So these are the starters. What is the third starter? Because subcontinental people will start with pakora. And sambusa.
Yes.
Which is samosa and pakora. I mean, if I go to the Middle East, the subcontinental part, and especially some Pakistani would refuse
even India
to break the fast, and they will throw tantrum that if there's iftar time and there's no pakoras. And I've personally seen someone walking away that I'm not going to make an iftar if there are no pakoras. So you can see how much they love it. But same thing, obviously, when we talk about Middle East, obviously, you said that there are two other things that we add to that, a salad.
Actually, we have tabbouleh. We talk about the cold appetizer. Yeah. We have tabbouleh. We have fattoush. We have green salad. It's all same, but we have each and every plate has its own touch. Example, if we talk about tabbouleh. Tabbouleh is a great, healthy, very great and healthy.
How do you make tabbouleh?
It's actually, when we go through the process, it is parsley. It's bulgur, and it's called burghul بالعربي.
Burghul. It's like a pulse.
Yes,
pulses.
exactly. And they use olive oil.
Okay.
And this is the common between all these olive oil. And they put some lemon. They put some dry mint. And they just mix it and put some lettuce to give it a design. At the end, you could eat with the lettuce. Take it a dip from tabbouleh and eat. It's very healthy. I personally at home I eat it on daily basis. My kids love it, so I would recommend all our viewers to have the tasty one tabbouleh. And
we will take a break because we'll continue. Before we do that, we're talking about tabbouleh. Stay with us. We'll be right back after a short break.
डिक्सी इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स और अप्लायंसेस, जहां आपकी तमाम इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स और अप्लायंसेस की जरूरियात पूरी होंगी। हमारे पास आपको हर टॉप ब्रांड मौजूद मिलेगा, चाहे वो वर्लपूल हो या LG, सैमसंग हो या जनरल इलेक्ट्रिक्स। हम इन सब के ऑथराइज्ड डीलर हैं। आइए और हमसे 5 स्टार खिदमत का लुत्फ उठाइए। हम आपको तमाम अप्लायंसेस सबसे बेहतर और सस्ते दामों पर फराहम करेंगे, ये हमारी गारंटी है। विजिट आवर वेबसाइट www.dixieelectronics.ca या फिर हमें कॉल कीजिए 905-625-5900. At Dixie Electronics and Appliances, we sell quality and deliver confidence.
अगर आपको दुबई या मिडल ईस्ट नुमा ज़ेवरात की तलाश है, तो आपको दूर जाने की बिल्कुल जरूरत नहीं। आज ही हमारे मिसिसागा रिजवे स्टोर तशरीफ लाइए। अल करम ज्वेलर्स। हमारे पास सोने के बेहतरीन कंगन, कड़े, झुमके, हार और सोने के सेट्स भी दस्तयाब हैं। शादी हो या मेहंदी या कोई भी फंक्शन, आपकी पसंद के तमाम जेवरात आपको हमारे स्टोर में मौजूद मिलेंगे। आज ही हमारे स्टोर पर तशरीफ लाइए। अल करम ज्वेलर्स, 3465 प्लैटिनम ड्राइव, यूनिट 99, मिसिसागा। या फिर कॉल करें 905-828-0009। अल करम ज्वेलर्स, फरमाइश आपकी, गारंटी हमारी।
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Welcome back to the studios. We are here with us, Osama, and we are talking about, beautiful festivals of Islam. Like Ramadan. Ramadan itself, like I mentioned, is a pre-festival preparation, but it has a different dimension also. So Ramadan also has something that, we need to understand that, there is an Eid al-Fitr and there is an Eid al-Adha. So these topics we're going to cover, but before we reach those points, let's come back to Osama and talk to him about you were talking about the cold starters, and we mentioned certain names, hummus and mutabbal and tabbouleh, and we mentioned tabbouleh is predominantly made with the parsley, and it is made with this
bulgur. Yeah, bulgur.
So and the olive, obviously the olive oil. And what else? There's fatoush.
Fatoush, it's a salad, cut it in a big chunk, and it added a fried crumbs bread. So
fried crumbs bread, yeah, okay.
On top of it, and you just put zayt al-zaytun, and you put dibs al-rumman.
Dibs al-rumman is some kind of.
It could sour and sweet. It's sour and sweet. It's pomegranate.
Pomegranate, yeah.
Yeah. So the lessons of the pomegranate.
Ah, okay. That's cool. Okay, yeah. That's pretty. All right. So then what are the main courses? Give me just 2, because I know that you can go on and on.
See, I tell you, as we all the Islamic countries will love the rice and chicken and meat, would take this, consider this as a main course. So,
but that's what come up with some names.
Okay, we have example. If we talk about we'll talk about GCC example. We have treed, we have haris, we have machbous, we have biryani. So this is 4 dishes. If we talk about Egypt, we have fatta. We have it in during Ramadan or during the Eid. So there is no issue. We have in Levant, we have mansaf. We have in Yemen, we have mandi, laham mandi dajaj. So from all Islamic country, example from India and Pakistan below, it's one of the main dishes there.
So let's talk, because we discussed certain dishes last time. So obviously those dishes are part of these main courses during time of Ramadan in iftar. But let's talk about haris. We did not touch base on haris. Haris is a very special way of cooking this particular food, which I used to love it actually. And this requires, I think, 18 or 20 hours of cooking. What are the major ingredients that you put in haris? It's something like halim. If I give you an understanding, which it is close to, haris is close to halim, which we do in subcontinent. But in terms of taste and in some of the ingredients, they are very different from each other. So Osama, what do we add in haris?
We actually, when we talk about haris and GCC, we talk about, it could be made from chicken, it could be made from sheep, lamb, example, from camel.
Yeah, that's
from
true.
camel.
So
yeah.
Camel and sheep. These are the more conventional cooking.
Yeah, exactly. And they could make it from anything, but since they are strongly recommending or they learn how to develop the taste of the camel, so mainly they're doing from camel and also.
So they basically add camel. See, it's camel. And then other than camel,
it's a long procedure and protocol in cooking these things. They would take it on the on the very low flame for number of hours, as you mentioned. It goes maybe for 18 hours and 20 hours cooked. Then they cook it with some spice, with wheat.
With wheat. That's why I
Yeah,
wanted to ask
yeah,
you.
yeah.
So it is actually, cooked with the wheat and either the camel's meat or the mutton, which could
Yes.
be the lamb
Both
meat.
sides, yeah.
They put it inside and then they cook it for hours and hours by adding certain spices. And trust me, that one dish is so amazing that if one dish that I miss in this part of the world is haris. Actually, because I used to go, line up in the place where there are places called matbakh. Matbakh is a place which is a normal kitchen, a kind of a kitchen, open kitchen, commercially served, and they basically sell it. And that is one of the most delicious things that your taste bud would like to crave when you are actually when you're about to break your fast. So that is one thing that I really, really, really love it. So Harish, I would not basically go because you mentioned certain rice dishes and that we have on a record. If anybody wants to understand about those dishes, the many dishes we discussed in our last episode of more or less the same show, because Osama was the guest and we discussed those dishes. So you can talk about it. So let's quickly move to the Eid al-Fitr. So we know what exactly that we're talking about before we move towards
after finishing 29 days or 30 days of Ramadan, Muslims, this is our festive. So all of us happy. They went to Salat al-Eid, and after Salat al-Eid, and we go and make iftar, the breakfast, the normal breakfast in the morning or in a lunch. So mainly in the first day, people would consider something like a biryani or majboos or maqluba in Jordan and Palestine, or مسخن or mansaf. They have different.
But I tell you, Osama, when you specifically mention these Arabic names, you find some of our audience and viewers completely unaware what these dishes are. So I would request that when you take a name of a dish, come by one and then tell us what that dish is all about. Okay. So then people can at least, even if they have not tasted it, they have a certain idea what dish are they talking about.
Okay, I'll tell you. The common three items our ingredients that we could say for all dishes: rice, lamb, chicken, or beef. So this is 4 items. It could be the main common between them. If we talk about majboos, it could be majboos dajaj or majboos laham. Laham means the mutton or a lamb. Okay, or chicken. It's a rice at the end, cooked with a different spice. Okay, cooked with chicken or lamb, and this is majboos. And if we talk about example, turid, it's a vegetables. We talk about potato, carrots. Could be made from chicken or lamb, and it could be also the add bread on the as a foundation, as a foundation, and you dip everything on top of it. And when you eat, you take a dip from it. You find the bread, you find the potato, you find the carrots, you find the laham or the dajaj. So they call tarid. This is more engulf. And if we talk about example, maqluba, it's a rice, chicken, lamb, some potato, eggplant, cauliflower in one of these. And if we talk about example mansaf from Jordan, it's I would just say it's a yogurt, it's kind of yogurt with rice and lamb. And if we talk about example Egypt, about the main dish for them in Eid al-Adha, in al-Eid, the fatta, they call it fatta. Fatta, it comes with a rice, with a beef, and they make a spice from the garlic and they top it from the rice, and also with the crumb spread. So this is the main dishes in Eid al-Adha in different various. And if we talk about Yemen, we talk about mandi laham or mandi dajaj. So mandi laham, mandi again it could be from chicken or lamb and rice. So as I mentioned, it is 4 items or 4 ingredients. It comes with rice, chicken, lamb, or mutton.
See, here I would like to differentiate actually what Osama gave us the outcome of both the Eids. Eid al-Fitr, like we mentioned, it is a festival soon after we complete the 30 or 29 days of Ramadan, of fasting. So, but in those days there is no udhiyah. We do not make any sacrifice. We do not sacrifice goats or camels or cows. But this
Eid
is why
al-Adha.
in Eid al-Fitr, that's why we cook. See, most of the time you get to hear from our guests that these dishes are predominantly rice and meat. But these dishes are extremely different in taste because there are different recipes. And one of my requests in the future for Osama is going to be that we start preparing these dishes one by one with certain recipes that our viewers can actually try it and cook it.
Exactly.
And once you cook it, only then you would know the taste. Because without tasting it, maybe we're talking about different dishes, we're talking about different cuisines, we're talking about different foods. But if obviously the content is same, that people would say it is always either rice and meat or beef. But all these dishes are extremely different in terms of taste, and even in making, and even to the taste buds, they all are very different. So Eid al-Fitr is like a festival, but still coming up with the dishes like mandi and the most of the dishes that we make on to celebrate the Eid al-Fitr is the day when we have these festive foods. But jumping over to Eid al-Adha, that's little different than Eid al-Fitr, because anyone who is capable and who can afford to have a sacrifice an animal in the path of Allah, this could be anything from a goat to a sheep to a cow or to a camel.
Exactly.
So that's where you become somebody that now you have 3 portions of the meat that you have made the sacrifice in the path of Allah. And this you divide among, keep one for yourself, one part you give it to your loved ones and the relatives or friends, and the third part goes to the less privileged. So that is also surprisingly any festival that Islam is bringing to us it has 2 things. One is to get close to Allah, and one is to basically give to the poor and to the needy. And this is where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that doesn't matter how we are enjoying, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to be focused on Allah and His creation, so that we are actually thinking and talking about those people, especially who are less privileged. And even during the Eid al-Adha, when we make this adiyah, which is in subcontinent we call it qurbani, and we actually, English we say sacrifice. So all these 3 are same thing, and we do it, and we actually pass it on to those who are less privileged, who need it. We also, as a good gesture, we give it to our loved ones and our relatives and friends, and one we keep for us as well, so that anybody's coming to us, we do it. But there are so many different dishes we can be made with all these foods. So the idea of the whole thing, this exercise by inviting Osama, because Osama comes with a very rich experience. First of all, he being himself, being living in GCC for a very long time, 40 years maybe, and coming from Egypt, Egyptian background and a Jordanian background, he has so much very rich experience of understanding of the Middle Eastern and Islamic dishes. And then on top of that, it's not just basically knowing the dishes, but he has the expert hand involved in cooking it and bringing it to the people who would like to taste it. So this is where we would like to bring the show to the point where we come up we discuss the dishes that so far we have discussed, and then we bring it to you with the recipe and how does it cook and how you can try.
Exactly.
Unless and until we also want to basically open up with some kind of a food chain where we can bring the authentic taste of these Middle Eastern Islamic foods to the people. So the main idea behind this is to bring the people, creating a better understanding, because we live in times with a lot of people, especially far away from the Middle East, they don't know how those countries are, what do they eat. Although that after this globalization and the time of a social media, the world has become a very small place where people know each other. However, taking it to the next level, we need to be speaking to someone, we say, direct from the horse's mouth. So that means, person who's involved, engaged, doing, and this is a privilege that we have Osama with us. We can take a lot of knowledge about these foods, not just the knowledge that, where these foods are served, but also about that how to cook it, how to serve it. What are the standards Islam demands? Trust me, he repeatedly, whenever I talk to him, cleaning the thing is one of the most important things, especially the meat which is served to the guests and the families. It needs to be cleaned. Halal is one aspect, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to make this dahiyah so that the whole blood drains out, and by taking the name of Allah, it becomes halal. And on the top of that, it has to be tayyib, clean in a way. In the process, in the preparation, the first preparation is cleanliness. And once you clean the meat in a way, it is even more delicious. It brings you more hair to the body. Because this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to do. That if we eat clean food, halal food, in different festivals, not only us, but the families and the other friends and the relations, they will all be happy, enjoying, because what they're eating, they know where it's coming. Because one of the challenges in today's world, that we usually go to these commercial places and we don't know what is the standard for the hygiene. What is the standard for the hygiene?
Exactly.
So this, God forbid, if we are eating unhygienic and making our kids hygienic, this is not loved by Deen, by Allah, by the Prophet. That's why it repeatedly said that how we are supposed to be keeping the meat clean before we consume it. Because eventually this will translate into ourselves. Whatever we put into our stomachs, this is how we become in our lives, in our personalities. So alhamdulillah, summa alhamdulillah, we being Muslims are taught that how to cook these foods, how to create, although there's a lot more innovation. I won't say that these are sunnah foods or these foods are prescribed by a Quran. No, it's not like that. Over the time period, the foods were transformed. They passed through a certain transition. The ingredients came into it. The contents were changed. The different spices came in. However, these are still consumed as the Middle Eastern Islamic foods. So this is where we stand today, and we would like to bring all the categories in terms of bringing the food to the table, showing it to you. Maybe you can try one by one. For example, we took name of 2 starters in this show, hummus and mutabbal. These are very tasty things. And you must have tasted, because I've seen in North America especially, where there's a mass majority of Muslims are already there, they're already eating it. But then if you can make it of your own, and you know what exactly that you're eating, I think that's going to be something really, really, of an advantage. And we must basically, bring it to our diets. We must do it so that, we can enjoy the food. So this Islamic show is, this is Islamic. We are doing these shows in the times of Islam in modern time. But what I'm trying to explain is that there is a softer touch of our deen. Sometimes people believe and think that Islam is just certain don'ts and do's and don'ts and do's. Islam has never those and do's if you do not believe in that. Islam says, La ikraha fid din. Do not compel anyone to Islam. Do not compel. However, when you become a Muslim of a choice, not just a Muslim by chance or non-Muslim, Islam says if you are a Muslim by choice, then there are certain do's and don'ts, and those do's and don'ts do not benefit Allah, but those do's and don'ts are for my beneficial.
Exactly.
Those bring me some kind of a value that I can basically incorporate into my living, and I can live with those ethos, and I can live with those values, and I can do that. So one of the things that Islam believes in a family, closeness of the family. With the time period, we're seeing that the families are dispersed. Families are moving away from each other. People do not have time for each other. And even they have time sitting next to each other, having the mobiles in their hands, and they both are busy with it. It was never like that before. People used to engage in the conversation. They used to talk to each other. They used to talk about different things. And they used to show the value of the person sitting next to them. But today's world, the people either got so busy that they do not have a chance to see each other, but also sometimes when they have a time and sitting next to each other, they're still busy with their cell phones and mobiles. So you can imagine that maybe the impact that we see today is 50%, but down the line when we move on, it's going to cross some 100%. And then you say how distant will be the people. And food is something that brings us all to one table. When we are doing nothing and we are eating, other than the prayers that we have to do, for example, if we do salah together or we make something together for the sake of Allah. But what I'm saying is, food is one thing that it brings us all to one table. And this is what Allah wants us to be, one, together, close to heart each other, close to each other enough so that we can understand each other, so that we can understand their problems and their happiness, so that we can understand their shortcomings and their strengths, and so that we can understand their potentials and encourage them and put them and see them, the potential that they have on a track, so that they become someone who they want to be in their life. This is how we are supposed to be as a Muslim. As a modern Muslim, this is how we are supposed to be. Not that the ancient Muslims did not have this. They always had these things. But we actually, with the time, we got so busy with the things that we stopped thinking about that. That is why I'm saying, why is food important? We cook it together, we bring it to the table, and we eat it together. With this, I'll beg leave from all the viewers. Thank you, Osama, once again for being with us in the studio. And inshallah, we expect that you're going to be here with us next Tuesday. We'll continue this show until we bring up some really good cuisines and festive foods to the table of each of one you watching us.
Inshallah.
Thank you so much for watching us, and hope to see you next time. With that, I leave you all under the protection of Allah. Ma'as salam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.